I was thinking about it. I'm an introvert. Like I'm a painfully and always have been a painfully sort of interior person.
You can change that as much as you want. If you packed everything up, like cut the internet off and moved to a new town, like who would you be there? If you wake up every day, you have a capacity to be great.
Ask you something. Is the next 30 seconds guaranteed?
Yeah, never.
Never.
You have to answer every day when you go to bed. Were you a good person? Were you kind? Did you care about others? Or were you selfish and only thought about what you wanted?
Continuing to ask questions in like a kind or positive way.
If I can create a spot where people can come together.
Stay off the internet, stop researching, because all you're going to do is get in your head.
I did what everybody does when they're about to die. I started praying.
This might be my last fork in the road.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Exactly. Welcome to our journey,
Where open dialogue and curiosity are the only requirements.
whether it be serious or lighthearted,
Music, heroing stories,
aliens.
or politics or comedic debauchery.
We attempt to peel the layers back and connect together in a way that's genuine and honest.
Without any script or idea what the hell is going to happen.
This is organic, curious, human interaction.
We thank you for joining us and ask, if you enjoy the show, please do all the things that social media requires for its more ridiculous algorithms.
The like button, follow, subscribe, comment, and review.
And although we may have a disdain for algorithms, it's how the internets work.
But if you have as much disdain for them as we do, you can visit the website, chroniccuriosity.com. The link is in the description. You can find all of our stuff there.
And the store, Tony, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Welcome to Chronic Curiosity.
And here we go. Cool. We good? Well, here we are. Nice. Glenn and Gary.
Hey.
Back again.
Repeats, back again. I love it, though. I'm super excited. I have, as always, no idea what's going to go on, but we did collect some, as Cass reminded me after you had mentioned the idea, Gary, of having just ran like a bunch of questions and just going around.
Yeah, but he had consequences on those questions.
Yeah, well,
that was
Always.
the second thought.
Yeah, he told me about. Yeah, he told me about
It's
that.
actually a cool idea, though.
Yeah, what's the nastiest thing
I was
you've
talking
ever
about how could you?
Yeah, make sure you get that.
How could you? I didn't realize we were on.
Yeah, you can tilt that thing. Yeah.
How could? I was thinking, how could we make the podcast like different?
Right.
There's a billion podcasts where people just talk and ramble on about anything and everything, but if there was a podcast where you're starting with unknowns and like ourselves, and you made it so that I can't even remember how I formatted it in my head, but basically it'd be, you guys ever watch Around the Horn on ESPN? So
yeah, I'm familiar.
Basically what Around the Horn is there's a host and they ask a question, everybody goes around and gives their opinion. And the host selects the best answer out of them. So he'll silence everybody and let that person speak more on the topic. Well, let's say the topic was whatever it is and everybody gave their answer, and the worst answer has a consequence, whether that be a shot of, we got 10 different shots here, you don't know what they are, take a shot, or, so, and now people are tuning in just to see what that consequence is on top of the topics. Yeah, and we just name shots. There can be, you have to eat something, you got to, do something within the realm of this table, but it's something different where I think it would pick up.
Yeah, so I'm down for the idea. Well, I just pitched them the other day too. Maybe we could do something, record it like we normally do, but do set up another camera for a live.
Yeah,
broadcast.
Like a post.
So, yeah, and have live on Facebook or wherever it is, and so people could see it live and interact, or and then throw random questions out, or something like that. We can set that up.
That would be good.
You're going to be the consequence guy? You're going to bring the consequences?
I think we can all come up with some rough stuff.
I'm down for that. It sounds like
it'd be fun.
It sounds like a terrible fun time.
Terrible, great idea.
Terrible idea, but a fun time.
Let's do it. No.
You have to make sure we don't have any allergies or anything first. You guys allergic
clothes
to anything?
We got EpiPens.
Yeah.
We'll be all right.
We got waivers.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, half of this room's learned doctors.
He's all right.
Yeah,
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give him a shot at sometime.
Give him another one. Yeah.
Oh, sounds like a good time. Let's do it. We could just kick off right. There's a list on the bottom. There's a Word document down there. If you want, we could just go right into it. Just
dive right in.
Just throw some questions out.
You don't want to talk politics or
on
current events?
the bottom of the screen. No. There's enough politics talk.
There is enough politics until
It just moves so fast.
It does.
Everything. Well, I was thinking about it the other day too. I go back and forth on whether it's craziness because it's craziness or it's craziness because we have so much access to everything all of the time, around the clock, and everybody's just
not the 24-hour news cycle.
You think that's what it is? It's just
it's not helping. I mean, it's not helping. I mean, it's definitely access. I mean, I talked to somebody about this the other day. Like, growing up, like, you had your village, if you will, like, or little city. So you had your little cluster, and like whatever data you got from the outside was pretty limited. So kind of, based on whatever the village mentality was, that was your upbringing. You know what I mean? In terms of like your morals, your character, like that kind of stuff. Like now, global access, so it doesn't matter where you grow up, you still get influenced by the rest of the world. So it just random, unrelated, but related kind of to your conversation in terms of like data access and like information access.
Yeah, you think you're talking to somebody that's a couple states away, but they end up in a room in Saudi Arabia with their 500 Twitter accounts.
Something.
Whatever it is.
Botting away.
Yeah. It's not even bots, though. They're real people.
Yeah. Trolls.
Yeah. Intended. I get paid to do that.
Yeah.
Just be an ass. Just get paid to be an asshole.
It's
I have like 20 accounts on Twitter.
Literally
like,
no consequence.
Yeah, you suck for no reason. That's a stupid idea. Yeah. Why? Because I said so.
Moving on to the next person.
Yeah, yep. Did you find them, that list? So so we had a handful of questions because I kind of put some feelers out since we've had that discussion. So we've got some random questions. I've seen them, but I haven't thought about them.
You cheated. You shouldn't even look.
What else am I supposed to do?
Pass them the gas.
Correct.
Yeah,
Don't look.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really put thought into them, but do you want to make some kind of rules as far as like going around the maybe you can't repeat the same answer that somebody else gives?
I mean, I think we're all smart enough not to do that anyways.
Yeah, I don't even know what to expect with these
questions. Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember.
Let's just go and see what happens.
Yeah.
We can revalue it if need be.
Yeah. Well, Gary brought the idea up, so he can start. What's pitch him the first question.
If you were put into witness protection, what's your new name and where do you go?
Oh, man. All right.
Just like truth or dare.
Yeah. Witness protection, I have to go a place where you least expect to find me. So that would be a black man in the middle of a country white town that's very cold. So like Montana or something like that. The mountains
Yellow Springs.
Montana, that's where I want to go.
The mountains of Montana.
So are you trying to stick out or not?
Good point. You stick to yourself.
You're a
witness.
Right?
You're a witness protection. It's not like you're out grocery shopping.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Based on the question, what would my name be though? Oof. Oh boy. Pass. I don't know. I circle back around on that one.
You'd be like one of those like
Jen Psaki is in the room.
Yeah. You'd be like one of those people that when like they call you for like a telemarketer and like they have some accent, they're not from the United States. And they're like, "Hello, my name is George." And you're like, you don't sound like a
you're
George.
Not a George. Your parents did not name you George.
Yeah. Don't lie to me.
Yeah.
You don't have an alias? Or no, like name that you like go
like
by?
That no. Most people
not
usually
that
create.
Put out there,
No, I don't have an alias or anything. I mean, I hate my name, but I'm stuck with it.
What's wrong with your name?
That's an old white man's name.
Gary.
How many young people named Gary?
How many young people named Frederick?
I'm right with you. I didn't say I loved your name.
It's like your name equals sucks.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
I got an X-ray the other day, And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and the nurse comes in. She's like looking around. She's like, Frederick?
You're
And
like,
I'm like, yeah, it's me. She's like, oh,
Fred,
okay. And I'm like,
down.
yeah, I'm probably a little younger than most of the Fredericks you see.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, well, you
gotta start
she didn't know what to
somewhere.
say.
Every time I meet somebody, I'll be like, yeah, my name's Gary. I'll be like, I didn't see that coming. That's my dad's name. Or that's my uncle's name. Yes, I know. I know how this works. Yes. I didn't pick it. I'm stuck with it.
It's kind of messed up.
And ironically, off topic, I'm the only one in my family without a middle name. And I'm not the firstborn. My older brother has a middle name. My sister has a middle name. My mom has a middle name. Everybody has a middle name. I don't have one. I always ask my mom, did you just forget? Like, was the birth that terrible that she just Gary Chaney?
Well, now's your chance. You can give
Yeah,
yourself a
make
middle
your-
name.
Yeah, give yourself a middle name. No?
Yeah, even spend more time on this. Like, what would my middle name be?
Start with an N, so my initials are GNC.
GNC.
Oh, there you go.
I know that much.
Yeah,
You guys can
done.
think on that.
So speaking as a foreigner, like, what's the purpose of a middle name?
If I know. Do you not have a middle name either?
I mean, not legally, maybe, just because, like, so legally my name is Glen Goyhkberg. Like, Gennadi's my Russian name.
Okay.
But I think at some point I just threw it in a document and it just kind of stuck. So, I mean,
So when you say Gennadi's your Russian name, like if you went over there,
that's Glenn and Craig.
okay.
That's what
Gotcha.
they would call me.
That's
Yeah.
what I was asking. Yep.
So yeah, my initials are GGG, but
Triple G.
but yeah, just where I come from, it's just first name and like last name. Like there's no middle name. So I mean, it's just, I mean,
The historical purpose of
Oh,
a
there
middle
it is.
name is to honor some related family or person, godparent, or even a completely unrelated person, such as a local or nationally prominent figure.
There you go.
so just another person to name.
Yeah. Well, there's some places where they have like 5 names.
That is
Or
true. Or
more.
titles, or
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's called a show dog.
I'm the third, so
the third.
my parents didn't even like try to name me.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
well,
He did one,
he's the
two,
junior, so
yeah,
he'll just be the third. Like, bunch of lazy asses.
Right.
Frederick the third.
Yeah. Where are you going, Gary or Glenn?
Where am I going? I would have to go somewhere with pretty comfortable weather.
He's like, I'm thinking about comfort. In this.
Correct, comfort. With definitely some nature, lakes, or water access, so I can do some fishing.
Remember, you're trying to get. This is witness protection, so you live like
Right.
not where you get to enjoy the.
Why can't it be both? I mean,
Well, he's got a lake, so when they come to shoot him up, he dives in the lake because the water stops the bullets.
I just
into Aquaman.
I've seen that in.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the movie.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think it's a real thing.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can take off in my boat. Like, they're not gonna catch me.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's a good idea. I need a boat. Yeah.
See, he's
And maybe a helicopter. You know, some
Yeah.
really James Bond. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, if I'm gonna rat somebody out, I guess I might as well live in comfort. So right.
Right.
I mean, isn't that kind of like that's the assumption then, right? If you
Yeah.
have witness
Typically,
protection
yeah, if
more often,
someone's trying to kill you. That,
I mean, I guess I could have, just whistleblowed, but I guess there's that part. So I don't know. So I mean, is this in the country or just probably anywhere in the world? I don't know. I'd be like in the Maldives or something like that, or just. Do I need a job? Is that a part of?
I don't know. Do you
need a job?
I feel
or,
like some people do, don't they?
Or is there just money? But I mean, do they do it because they have to, or is it like actually just kind of part of their cover? So. I would do, at that point I would just do kind of the bare minimum. So I mean, just live in some sort of tropical island with access to a variety of things. And
See, I'm envisioning like a safe house. I'm stuck in this house with like cops working the house 24/7.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking when I think this. So regardless of what's outside around me,
yeah,
But if you have like a compound though,
a Walking Dead, and we're stuck in then yeah.
Well, who was that? Wasn't there was a guy? Wasn't it? I think we talked about this before, Tony. It was the guy from the documentary Icarus. Obviously, it wasn't from the documentary. The documentary was about him.
Yeah.
He was the Russian Olympic doping team guy that like
Yeah.
ratted on him, and then ended up now he's in like protection
somewhere.
like
Yeah.
somewhere like around the clock with bodyguards,
Yeah.
and he basically never leaves his house because like Putin was like,
right.
As soon as we
yeah, you
catch him,
better-
yeah.
yeah, like, and they'll come back like
Yeah.
years and years later. They'll like just let everybody forget about him like 25 years later. They'll like
They're playing the long game.
Yeah.
The long game.
Yeah. They got patience.
Yes. I mean, yeah, that's what some of that is.
So what's your name?
Yeah, what's your name?
It's my name. You'd have to be something like sexy.
Yeah, I knew it.
You just would have to be just some sort of just hugely ambiguous and just why not, right? I don't know. I would need to come back to that too because I'm not that creative with it. Like I just know what it should be. I'm good at like telling people what to do, just not doing per se. So, yeah. No.
You're next, Tony.
So my name would be Mike Haunch.
Mike Haunch, all right.
That's my name. Spread my whole butt cheeks. And I'm stuck between two places. The first would be, I was thinking tropics too. I was thinking like the Seychelles. There's a beach there in La Digue called the Sorsons d'Argent. It's supposed to be like super beautiful.
What countries? It's what, like hemisphere, yeah.
So it's Africa.
Africa.
Yeah. Seychelles. You're getting over there kind of by that like Somalia area, but it's like a very beautiful island. Okay. So I was thinking it'd be interesting to maybe see what's up with some pirates.
Is it by Madagascar or is it the other side?
Oh, dangerous area.
I think it is by Madagascar, but it's north of that.
Okay.
I was thinking mountains too. So like Kalispell in Montana, like
more cowbells,
entrance to
more cowbells.
More cowbells, yeah.
More cowbells. Yes, Kalispell's Montana, more cowbells, yes.
So Mike Haunch.
The
Seychelles or Kalispell. Cowbell.
Gotcha. So would you have a job then or what would you do?
Either a pirate or yeah.
I mean, when it's Somalia, yeah.
I mean, why not, right?
Why not? But like, would you be like your own like whole, have your own boat and crew?
Oh hell yeah! Well, I'd fly a flag and everything.
You'd fly a flag.
Yeah, I'd have an eye patch.
Dress up like old school, like actual old school pirates. Like,
what would be on your flag? Just like Skull and Bones or something.
Be like, who's this, Jack Sparrow?
Probably.
Who's a terrible pirate?
Yeah, probably just don't kill me, real pirates. Or
don't kill me, real.
Probably have a syringe and like scientific periodic table stuff.
It would actually say Prestige Worldwide. It would just be boats and hose.
Boats and hose.
Yeah. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Boats and hose.
It's not a bad idea.
All
right.
Mike Haunch.
Yep.
I love the thought of being in a tropical island, but I'm not that intelligent to know all those islands all over the place or where I'd go to be less like I ended up picking a place that would be really cool, but then it actually ended up being less safe.
Yeah.
Where I would,
like I'm gonna live in Hillhead.
It's like a spring break destination.
Yeah,
wasn't that Frederick up there?
Yeah, short story. We had a guy. We used to go to Riverfest all the time. I don't know if you're familiar, but we had a guy that we used to work with. He told we all, like a bunch of us, went up there for the event, and he told his wife he was going out of town for work. Well, technically, those were which work people, but the next morning, the local newspaper had an article on the event, and here he is crowd surfing at the concert, like just full on
his best life, like
full on, and like 2 days later, he's like, I'm not allowed hanging out with you guys anymore.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. That's so bad luck.
Yeah, like
crazy.
out of all the people, like he's just front page, just like woo, drinking one hand, cigarette in the other, like crowd surfing. His wife was like, "Oh, work event, huh?"
Lunch break,
right?
Yeah. I'd probably end up being really lame and just going out like in maybe like southern Canada or something like that, out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I can deal with the cold, but that's almost more like a vacation. Just leave me alone.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Just a lake and just a cabin somewhere.
Right. That's funny.
What's your name?
Ooh, Timotheus.
Timotheus?
Yeah, I've always liked that name.
Timotheus.
It's
Tim for
Kathy
short.
just puked in her mouth.
Yeah, she did for sure.
Timotheus. Yeah, you need to have another child for that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was always my.
Next time you get mad at him, call him Timotheus.
Timotheus.
You can yell it too. Timotheus
With his middle name and then last name the third. Yeah.
Well, that was always a thing. Like when we found out that she was pregnant, we were having a kid, and she's like, "Well, trying to think of names, like boy, girl."
Yeah.
Like took us a little while to think of one for a girl, and then like we could not come up with anything.
It's like
for a boy.
boys, like Tim.
He's
Yeah,
like,
Tim.
You're like, I mean, that's really
Timotheus.
Timotheus.
Yeah, she's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We'll call him Timmy. We'll call him Timmy.
Yeah.
Good call, Cass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I got a buddy, he named his kid Maximus. That kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Like why not? No F's given. Let's go. Just Timotheus.
I feel like that's a fairly common name in some places, though.
Maximus?
Yeah. I just literally just ran across, not personally, but I saw someone the other. Their name was.
I know two Maximus.
Yeah, see. I was
Really?
like, I'm just I don't know where that derives from.
The only Max I know is a dog. Like I just don't know any other Maximuses.
Were they born before or after the year 2000?
One is after. The
Maximus
one is before.
Decimus Meridius.
No, it wasn't. It was Maximilian.
No.
I don't know that any.
Yeah,
Maximilian.
I saw that. I was like, Maximilian. I was like, someone actually named their kid that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Actually, I know one other Max. I do know one other Max. Anyways, I digress. Just Timotheus.
Timotheus it is.
Well,
living
that was
somewhere in the middle of Canada
yeah.
with nothing.
Yeah, well, it's like a biblical name that always stuck out to me.
An
So,
axe and probably a bunch of sharp objects. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And game.
Did you figure out your name yet?
Still working on it. I think.
Circle back
I think
around.
what I would do. I don't have an exact name, but I've always been a fan of. I don't know why, but I've been a fan of people that have a last name that's their first name. Like, because I never minded, like, when I was in school, especially like high school, people were like, Chaney.
Need some paper towels on
That was
aisle
it.
4.
I never minded when people were like, Chaney, you know, instead of, especially since I'm not a fan of my first name. So, you know, I don't know.
He's talking like Chad Brad.
Bradley Chad.
Like, I don't even know. But you guys get where I'm at with this.
I mean, there's got to be a generator out there online. You can just plug a couple things in. It'll just keep popping out names. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a hard time trusting people with a last name
Right.
or the first name, or two last names, or two first names.
Like William Williams or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, like no,
yeah, that's
don't.
weird.
Yeah, maybe, but then at the same time, I think like I feel bad for them. Like, but your parents, There's something right. Yeah,
shame on them, right?
And you also know that was premeditated too. That wasn't just like randomly. Like they actually planned
Yeah, they
before
thought
they
on-
had a
they
child.
thought on that one. Yeah.
Correct.
Dude, what
Like
about-
this
what
is
about-
what we're gonna do.
What about terrible names that you hear? Like I knew there was a dude in Shreve that would get prank called all the time, and his first name was Harold, and his last name was Bohner. And it was Harold Boner.
Yeah.
Harry Boner. Yeah.
Harry Boner.
There's a trash can right there. You can throw this.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, I went to school with a guy. What was his name? It was Jacob Russell Kopf.
Cough.
He went by Russell instead of Jake. He put those. So his name was Jacob.
Jack off.
He went by Russell, and
Yeah.
then
Right,
we knew him for years, and we found out his first name. Someone said like, Jacob Kopf, and we're like, your name was Jake this whole time, and he was
Jake
like,
off.
son of a bitch. Like
Right.
you could see it in his eyes. He's like, they figured it out. Yeah, yeah,
It's like his senior year of high school.
yeah.
He made it all these years without anybody saying anything.
That's
Like,
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
He's like, you were jack off this whole time. No, we never knew.
We missed out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why with my last name we picked pretty short, common names for our kids. Like that was premeditated. You know,
I could see that.
just right. So we thought it through, or tried to think it through.
Yeah, it could be a difficult last name for. I mean,
because kids are assholes, and like we're we're just to make sure that we don't give them any other reason or
Right.
any more reasons to be asshole to our kids. They can
That's
do that themselves.
commendable.
I mean, I was bullied growing up. Like my wife was bullied, so I don't know. We just gave it more thought. Maybe it's somebody else.
yeah, my name is too hard. Then you talk about like the last name thing, like when they, especially in sports. It's like it's like a thing in sports. People just call you by your last name.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't like. They never did that for me because it's hard to like. It doesn't make sense. Win, win. Like there was a little bit of that. Like
Win, get over
like,
here. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're the winner. Like, but that's not that funny.
Yeah.
So it's hard
Like,
to
how
like.
many
It
times-
was hard to joint those things together. But I was always last because it was a W. So
Right.
I can understand that.
Right.
You got another one for us?
Well, you all have girls, so this is fitting. As a father of a daughter, if she were going to another girl's house, would you expect to be told if only the father was there watching them?
Oh, that was absolutely a listener one that we talked.
This
Actually,
is
that
a
was
s-
from somebody that was on the show before.
This is assuming. I hate to add to the question, but this is assuming you don't know the dad.
No, I think that you could. This is a really good question because I have
That's
often I have
absolutely.
thought of this.
Especially as the kids get older.
I dropped Kyrie off at a babysitter one time. There was other kids. Dad was there, not the friend who was supposed to be the babysitter, and I called off work. Like
I would absolutely.
I
need
knew
to know.
him,
Yeah.
but I just
Yeah.
I was not mentally prepared for that, and it was just not going to happen.
I would absolutely need to know. Absolutely.
So I'm going to take a different perspective on this. I'm going to be the dad that's getting the kids dropped off, and think of it from that perspective. So I would almost be I'd almost be offended if, like, for example, you called off work or canceled the play date or whatever it is, just on the strength of a dad being there instead of a mom, which I understand the reasoning behind it.
But would you tell them ahead of time? I had a specific babysitter. She was the babysitter. She was not there. She was not going to be home for a couple of hours. I wasn't notified of that. So I show up, and now it's the dad, who I don't deal with very often. If he
Or
was
maybe
the
it could be like
I mean, that's a little
if he
different
was
scenario
the
than I
primary
think the question.
parent,
Yeah, and
then that would have been fine. But if it's only the dad, and
I guess
you're
in
not
that scenario
notified.
that makes sense. But if
Well, I'm sorry, real quick. Like the other scenario, just I think along those lines would just be as simple as like a husband and a wife, and like they're supposed to watch the kids, and all of a sudden, like you show up and the wife is out
She
getting a
went grocery-
pedicure for like
yeah.
2 hours or something like that, and then it's just the dad has the kids, the daughter, your daughter, for the next 2 hours, while the wife is away doing something else.
so, what are your thoughts on that?
Pretty similar, right?
it would, for me, it would depend on who it is. How close she doesn't go very many places,
Right.
because we're pretty strict with that. But there are some men that I would, families that I would trust if mom was gone and dad was there. If they said, hey, this is happening, okay, I would want to know, or I wouldn't want to be caught off guard. So would you expect to be told if only the father was watching them? So it's not whether if you would let them. Do you think that you basically deserve to be told?
I don't. I think if I left her here with you here, and let's say I don't know you guys very well, okay, which in reality I don't know you guys all that well. I left you guys.
It's about 6 hours worth.
Right,
Or
yeah.
8 hours worth.
We're building on our time now.
Yeah. We're getting
So
there.
I leave you guys with her for a play date. I've met your daughter 1,000 times. Okay, they go to school together, whatever. And we talk, and I'm like, okay, cool, we'll bring her over on Saturday, whatever. And I bring her over, and for whatever reason, when I get here, both you guys are here, or even when I get here, just you're here. Okay, and then he shows up later after I've left, and let's just say, for instance, you leave and you go to the store, or maybe you're out in the yard doing yard work, and he's manning the house. I think if I showed back up and it was just him, he'd be like, oh, Cass, she ran to the store, she's doing this. I don't think I'd be mad that I wasn't notified. Like, hey, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm trusting this situation, period, regardless of, I'm trusting both parents at this point. It's not, I trust one parent more than the other based on sex or whatever, especially, because we're basically saying, this is all boils down to, is the dad a creep or not? That's what it's boiling down to, because at the end of the day, if he already has a daughter, chances are he didn't do anything to his daughter. Hopefully he doesn't do anything to your daughter, but women are just as capable too. It's just not as likely. So,
Or not as reported.
or maybe that too. So I think I would
Do you know
be,
the numbers on that, Tony?
I think you
pretty significant.
you take, if you're taking the risk, or if we want to call it a risk, or trusting that situation enough to let your kid over there in the first place, then you have to trust that it's a safe environment. I'm not coming through your house making sure there's no sharp corners and there's no weapons out and this or that. You're trusting that it's a safe environment, that you've invited my child into a safe environment, whether that be one parent in the house, both parents, the mom, the dad, the grandpa, whatever. That's how I look at it. So maybe I'm too. I don't know.
I think that's a very good point, though.
You're trusting the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed,
if the dad is possibly, sketch or whatever,
Sus.
You
as the
probably.
kids say, sus.
Oh, is that what it
is that
is?
the
Sus.
new one? Sus.
I'm
It's
old
not
these
sketch
days.
anymore.
Then
Yeah.
you wouldn't want her there.
Sketch. What
I
is
mean-
that? Like, are you salty,
You know.
dog?
Yeah,
Like,
is that early 2000s? Is that what that
correct.
is?
On a different,
Sus.
let's look at it this way though. Let's say that scenario did happen, and you show up and it's just the dad. How do you respond? Because now you make yourself to look crazy if you say nobody thought to tell me that he was going to be here watching the kids and that you left. As a mom, I'd be like, I didn't think it was a big deal. This is the same guy that raised my daughter for the last 10 years. Sorry, I know you guys didn't meet, but I know he exists, and that this is my family. Like, now you're offended. This play date will never happen again on both parents. Like,
Right.
It's over. Yeah, it's not you, it's me.
right.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, maybe I've seen too many Criminal Minds or something like that, but like so I don't feel comfortable when like if it's just me and like some other random kid or like my kid's friends. It's just such a weird world, and like I'm in the Cub Scouts like with my son, and like that there's a rule where it just can't be you and like somebody else's kid, like, type of thing. So I mean, I'm pretty protective of my kids. I would do anything for my kids. I mean, I think from that point, especially my daughter, and it, as she gets older, it scares the hell out of me as everything goes on. So yeah, but I mean, I think to Gary's point, like, just if that's going to happen, I need to know what's going on, kind of what's the environment, like what's the person. So I think I'm a pretty good judge and read of character in the situation. So we make that decision. But I mean, odds are everything's fine, but you have to kind of follow your gut as to like when you show up and something just doesn't seem right, then you have to have the wherewithal, kind of the internal wherewithal to maybe pull back, if you will. So I don't know if that answers the question directly, but would I be comfortable with it? Not necessarily, but you still have to just put all the data together.
It's a complex question.
It is. It's. I mean, in today's world, it's something we need to all be considerate of, in my opinion.
For me, it just depends on who it is. So, like, I mean, not that you're watching her, but you've had Stitch out there with you running around, jumping off stuff, and
beating the crap out of me with a stick. What I tell my kid not to do with the dog.
Yeah,
Tony's,
don't poke with.
She's like out there, and Tony's daughter just out of nowhere just comes up behind me, like, whack, whack, whack. Like,
that's my girl.
Yeah,
that's terrible. Yeah.
No, it just depends. I mean, if I would feel very comfortable with my daughter being around any of you guys, like.
No, but I think the way we're taking the question, it'd be more of like a parent of like another kid at school, not somebody that per se.
If it was someone I didn't know,
you know what I mean? It's
so
like you're setting up play date with your kids, and all of a sudden
is it a play date or is it a babysitter? What is it?
She's going to another girl's house, so I would imagine like a friend's house.
Yeah. I'd probably, if I don't really know, I'd
not
want
like
to know.
yeah,
just because I mean, I definitely want to know.
Yeah.
So the world is a weird place, and
no, Sam. I mean, there's been times like we're going to a friend's house. I'm like, kids, tuck and roll, we're out. I don't care who's there. Like, I know that they're in good hands. But yeah, obviously,
I think it's more so something you take for granted though, as a parent. Like, again, using these two as an example, if there's a play date set up and you're like, hey, Fred, I'm gonna run to the store real quick. Can you watch the kids while I run to the store? You're not thinking, hey, I probably should call. Maybe you are thinking it, but I think in most scenarios, him, that's not even a thought in your mind. So you're not thinking, hey, let me pick up the phone and call so-and-so's mom and say, hey, I'm running to the store real quick. I'm going to be gone for 20 minutes just so you know Fred's going to be watching the kids. Now, would they appreciate it? Yeah, maybe they wouldn't even care. But even from the other side, that's probably not even something you necessarily think about because she doesn't look at you as a threat to a little, little girl or whatever.
No, I agree with that. I think I'd kind of putting all this together. It's just the understanding of the situation. Like, I would be upset if, in a sense, where I thought it was going to be one thing, and then when I got there, it was completely different. Then it's like, all right, it's not necessarily that it's just the dad that's here. It's, well, I didn't understand the full situation, what was going on. Like, if you talk to the mom to set up the play date, and then the mom's not even there, it's like, well, like, hey,
come on, Mom.
I want to know who's going to be the adult that's around my kids. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's a couple, like if it's, but I agree with you. If it's going to be when you're putting your child into a situation, you have to trust the entire situation and all of its variables.
And to add to that, because now you kind of brought up a new perspective. Let's say you set up this play date with the mom, and we're talking right now. This question is based around if you show up and there's a male figure there. But what if we set up the play date and you show up and the daughter's home from college and she's watching the kids and you're like,
yeah, same way,
right? So, in a scenario like that, I think I'd be more mad at the fact that that it's not what I thought it was going to be. Not so much that it was necessarily a man around my daughter.
Babysitter catfish.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to put it. But
if you have kids, that's awful. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you there. It's like, I want to know what the situation is. Like, who's going to be the adult that's going to make sure, if something happens, my kid's okay. Not necessarily which adult it is. I like to meet him though.
Babysitting catfish.
But I think our role as a parent, though, if we're being honest, we're just as responsible to make sure we know what's going on in that scenario that we're putting our child in. So if I was to bring her here and she's staying, okay, she's going to be here all day. Like, who's watching her? What are your guys' plans for food? And then that's where everything kind of gets thrown out on the table. That way, if something does change, you're not crazy for being angry about it. This is what you told me was going to happen.
Right.
I'd appreciate if you let me know next time, that kind of thing. So
I think maybe we're more hyper aware of asking, or like when you said, would you be the parents to call and say, hey, I'm running out, Fred will just be here. Because since we had Kai and she was little, you have said before, I don't feel comfortable, depending on who it is, as being home as just like the babysitter.
Right.
Because especially for little girls that you don't know their parents that well, all it puts yourself in a situation that could get fucked up pretty quickly. All it takes is a little kid to say the wrong thing, and you just, from the beginning, you said, I don't want, that's not something I am interested in doing if at all possible.
Babysitter body cams.
Yeah,
The next business, yeah.
Well, it goes back to
You're on point today.
I think it goes back to Gary was saying is like understanding the whole situation and laying it all out beforehand, and that's we are very hyper vigilant of certain things with our child just because of things.
Right.
But it goes down just knowing what's going on before, because it's like you said, it's your job to make sure that your kids kind of make it through life at least to a reasonable age without
18 at least.
Yeah, at least. So
and then I'm on my island and witness protection program.
So let me change the scenario up a little bit.
Yeah.
What happens if your kid's a boy?
It's fine.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that crazy?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of our opinions would change slightly. I mean, you still want to know the ins and outs of who, what, when, where, why. But if you showed up and the mom is gone now and the dad's there, they're outside playing baseball. Oh, hey, nice to meet you.
I thought you meant if the mom is there. Like, I don't think mine changes if the dad is there.
Yeah, I would still want to.
Yeah.
I would still be hyper vigilant, and I would still want to know the situation.
Like, I think the thought frame would change if it's the mom. If you're supposed to be the dad and the mom is there, then I think maybe from a guy's point of view, you're like, oh, okay, no. But yeah, if it's supposed to be the mom and then the dad is there, and then I'm dropping off my son, both.
Not so much. I'm not talking so much as in the scenario completely changes. Like you spoke, this was what was supposed to happen, and you show up and it's different. I'm talking like the scenario I gave where mom steps out to go to the grocery store or something, and you happen to come back. And
so literally I would still need to know.
Yeah, I think there is a tendency. I totally agree. There is a tendency where boys are a little less guarded than girls are. And at the same time, is like that's kind of, you think like, oh, that's unfair or that's whatever. I don't know. Maybe
as they get older, you just That's the world we live in, man. As
Yeah.
as you get older, again, we all have girls, and we can all visualize at least what we think it's going to look like as they turn to teenagers and adults. And so, but having a boy, having a son, you're like those thoughts don't cross the thoughts of, hey, I want to protect him as long as I can, cross your mind, but you don't worry about as much. You don't worry about, man, God, I hope she doesn't end up with a big butt and boobs. God, I hope she doesn't. That's how I think. That's serious. Man, I hope, I hope my daughter will never wear that. Dudes are just dudes. Like, I don't know.
Dude, you're fucked. She's cute as hell. You are so fucked.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it is. There is some difference there, but it's.
I think it's called. I'm sorry. That's called karma.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Next question.
Yeah, it's a weird disparity there. I will agree with you there. Next question.
Next question. I'm going to bounce around a bit. 2 things you wouldn't do for $1 million.
Ooh.
Let's start on this side. You start, so you don't have time to think about it.
2 things I wouldn't do for $1 million.
Oh my God! My answer's immediate.
There's not much.
You're like nothing and nothing.
I'm thinking every scenario. I'm like,
I'm not doing that. Kill somebody that didn't deserve it, and and completely abandon my family.
okay.
Full issue and sodomy.
Simple enough.
I'd do that for a lot less.
Somebody's gonna ask for that $1 million.
That's
Lottery.
what can you do with $1 million? So yeah,
Not erase that memory.
for $1 million. I mean, I'm sure it can be like hypnosis, or there's different things they can do to do that. Or drugs, something. I mean, there's a waste to
more than $1
erase
million
everything.
worth of drugs.
I mean,
Tony, you have to try everything at least once, maybe twice.
right?
Especially,
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't know if you don't like it if you don't try it.
Right.
Nope. I
Could
can
be
die
re-
happy
you
man
could
without.
be really missing out.
I'm completely fine dying without finding out.
All right, Glenn.
I think your answers are pretty spot on. I'm like, don't kill anybody, but no, I would, but yeah, not somebody that does not deserve it. So, I mean, nothing to my kids or to leave my kids or nothing to do with that part of it. But who knows what else life brings? But I think I hate to copy, but I think those are pretty astute things to say. So. I can't disagree with that.
I'm gonna defer to.
Having a cross.
You're like, who's offering? Who's offering?
Yeah.
Is this cash or wire?
So
Or is this-
About 10 million, Gary.
I'm going over here with part of what Tony said. Sodomy, there ain't nothing I'm taking up.
X
nothing.
only, huh?
Yeah, not happening.
I'm extremely disappointed in you two.
Sorry, that fantasy's not happening.
Yeah, just nope.
I mean,
Fantasy died today.
well, hold on. If somebody's out there listening, if you have $1 million, challenge.
Yeah. Challenge.
Dang it.
It's like, no, match made.
Maybe I was
money's-
actually setting that up.
The money's sitting in front of you.
Playing the
You're like,
long game.
Oh God, which long game are we talking?
The Grundle size.
The AGD.
Man, these are tough. Second thing I wouldn't do for $1 million. This is why it sucks going last, because you start feeding off everybody else's answers. I'd have to go something family related too, honestly. I know it's an easy answer at this point, but it's true. I don't think, as far as family goes, I don't think this this won't make sense to you guys completely, but it makes sense to me.
This feels
I don't
deep
think
for
I
a
would.
second.
Yeah, well, I'm trying not to answer with the same answers as you guys.
Yeah, I feel like
but I would never trade anybody in my family for $1 million or anything like that. So what I mean by that is, for example, her. If I had the opportunity to travel around the world with LeBron James day in and day out and experience everything that entails, or Dan Blazerian or somebody like that, somebody wild like that.
Yeah. You got to talk about Tuesday and something else.
And I got access.
With Dan, it'd be a little different.
I got access to their bank accounts and who they know and all these different things.
Okay,
Who are you?
I can hang out with Rod then.
You can have more kids.
Well, yeah, I'm saying I literally get to live that life
Right, I got what you're saying.
as Gary. But I got to give up this side of things for that. I'll pass. It's you only get one life, and although that life would be fantastic and all that it entails,
Right.
So
She'll make friends. She'll be fine.
she'll figure it out.
Well, I think there's something.
There's Instagram, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys can stay in touch.
Watch her grow up.
Telegrams. Yeah.
And even to be like contrary to that, I think there's something to be like. I think there's times where people, if they leave their people that have left their families or done things that most people still look at and be like, oh, that was selfish, just that, whatever. But just for money,
Right.
Yeah.
And odds are you're going to blow it pretty
Yeah, I was
quick
about to say you blow it. Now what do you have?
Right.
because someone could look at like
You got it stretched out, bud. Like, oh man, I'm out of money.
You're tweaking for another $1 million.
I got this memory.
but at least I'm not constipated.
That's what those hyperbolic
Go.
suppositories are for.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
So when you look at it like that, even with the $1 million right here in front of you, nah.
Well, mine was a little more serious. Like you take like someone like an astronaut that like died on one of the launches or something like that. Like essentially they risked their lives and left their families behind because of something they wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, but going into space, okay, it's a little better than just money. Like it's a whole different realm of.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like the odds. There's a couple things about that. I feel like the odds are against you making it back. That's just how it based on movies.
I feel
and
like more
things.
have made it back than haven't, right?
You've seen too many movies.
That we know of.
Yeah,
That's true.
I think they report on that shit.
that and,
No, because they don't actually go to space. 'Cause
Yeah,
Earth is
I was gonna
flat.
say, is it actually
It's a
in
Hollywood
space?
studio. It's right
and
next
you
to-
lose
it's
you
right
lose
next to
so many
Biden's set.
you lose so many years of your
basement set.
life too. I mean, you're stuck
lot of
in a
stress.
freaking spaceship. Like, cool, you get to see things people never see ever in their entire life. But there's pictures. Like, I get it. It's not the same, but that's a lot of time you lose with people that
Yeah.
you'll
No, but
never
that's-
get back.
That's a small amount of people, and that's something that they've had that dream ever since they can remember of dreaming. So, I mean,
Yeah, I
you know,
mean,
there's 8 billion people on the planet. So, I mean, you're talking about how many astronauts out there? A couple hundred total? I mean, or how many plus or minus, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking about a fraction of a
I mean,
fraction
it's
of
got to
people,
be
so-
under 500 people, I would think.
plus or minus. I mean, even if it's 1,000, it's still
Yeah.
you're talking about 1,000 out of 8 billion.
probably a select few that only make the cut to.
That's what I'm saying. So you're
Oh,
talking about a
yeah.
pretty. It's just you're talking about such an extreme outlier to where. Yeah,
Imagine what
it's
that physical is like. Like how many health markers you have to pass to.
all of them.
Yeah, you basically have to be physically perfect.
Yeah, like literally all of them. Yeah,
I think the one
And
dude
mentally,
talks
I mean-
about that on Rogan.
Oh, did he? Did he?
Yep.
yeah.
That's got to be insane. Because I know, like, even like being a fighter pilot, like, that's incredible, like physical. And then,
Yeah.
like, those are a lot of those people that move on to be astronauts because it's
Right.
like, well, you already got the physical,
You can take the
attributes
G's. You
and
can, yeah.
know how to work all the buttons and things.
Under pressure, under
Yeah, incredible pressures.
like, mental and physical.
Oh, that's a. We went from that question to that, but there you go. That was a good one.
All right, this one is
Oh boy. Is it?
if a woman gets pregnant,
Oh.
doesn't want the child, but the man does, should the woman have the child if the man takes on full and total responsibility thereafter?
Ooh, that's sticky.
I'll take this one.
Far away.
Yeah.
100% yes. 1,000% yes. Because if the roles are reversed and she wants to have him and the guy doesn't, now we're the a-holes in this situation. So I think, you know, in the opposite scenario, if the guy doesn't want to have it, then you always hear, oh, it took two, you know, you knew what you were risking when you went into her without a condom and so on and so forth. So I think on the flip side of things that women, granted, they have to go through the pregnancy, but they knew that was a risk when they lay down. So I think they should I think it should happen. In my opinion.
I do not agree with that. Yeah, it's her body, it's her choice, and perfect world, yeah. I mean, perfect world, if you can take that out, put it into a tube and, you know, have it come to birth, yeah, that'd be great. But I mean, I think the practical part of it, the physical, I mean, the guy might change his mind at some point. So, I mean, now you're still, you know, as a female or as a person, you're straddled with this kid until the age of 18. So, I mean, if the guy changes his mind or something like that, I mean, now, whether it's the actual parenting part of it or the financial part of it or the relationship part of it, they can go away at any point. But as a mother, you're with that child up till the age, you know, I mean, 18 or for life, if you will. So, yeah, again, perfect world, take it out, tube, you know, whatever that is. But I think otherwise, whatever that the female thinks is best.
Oh, I mean, I don't really know that the dude even has an option. Like, if she wants to get an abortion, like, you can't stop.
But
that.
you don't. Yeah, you have zero
That's
options.
the point of the question, Tony.
I mean, I think that's the answer, though.
That's
like,
theoretical. Yeah.
Obviously, like, I would, you know, if a dude wants a kid and it's, you know, it's gonna have someone that loves that kid, like, I'm all for that. You know, more kids need more parents who love them. But ultimately, if he can't do anything to affect that decision, I don't even know if there's really a question there.
Yeah.
I have to go with Gary on this one. I think you're both taking a risk. Granted, in that situation, right off the bat, and all, you know, things aside, the females is taking more of a risk there. But I mean, for the most part, people know what happens when all those things happen. So she's taking a risk if the guy wants it. I think, going back to your point though, is it would have to be like, look, like, this is it. Like, obviously it's never that clean.
Yeah.
You know, that if one of the parents doesn't want to be involved, it's not that clean. But if a parent was like, look, I want to have this kid, I'll take care of this kid all by myself. Just do it.
Make it happen. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, the reversal is held up in courts constantly across the world, you know.
Yeah, I think
maybe
that's
not across
just,
the world, but
Yeah, like
not across the world.
Yeah.
I mean, across the nation, where it's, you know, they make,
Not in Russia.
you know,
Yeah. Or
yeah.
Iran.
Right. No, yeah. I didn't mean across the world for sure. But it's, you know, how many times do you hear, you know, regardless of how dumb the situation is at that point, where if the dad doesn't want it, you know, the mother does, and then guess what?
He has
Paying
no
child
say.
support. He has no say.
Yeah.
So if you just strictly reverse the roles completely, then the rules should be the same.
and I think that's what sways me the most in that scenario, especially being that her mom and I aren't together. So, so that's easier for me to relate to because really I was the one in the situation that didn't want to have kids, and so looking back at it, once I decided, regardless of what I wanted to do, she was going through with it. But looking back at the situation, you know, the reason I agreed to do it was because I knew I was being selfish in the sense of the bigger picture. Like, there's a pregnancy here, and, you know, if she were to go through with an abortion and something happens and she can never have kids, these are all extreme scenarios, but if they were to happen, really, did I really want to put somebody through that when I knew that having unprotected sex was a consequence, or pregnancy was a consequence of having unprotected sex? So I think
do
on the
sodomy.
flip side, right, just get the money and go.
Just get
Or
the
fast.
But I think on the flip side of things, you know, from the other side of things, I think the rules should be equal across the board.
Next.
Next. That was a.
Can I weigh in as being the only female here?
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, sure.
I would have to agree with Gary. So, a lot of times men get the bad rep, right? Like, you got her pregnant. Well, I knew what I was doing. Like, that it's almost offensive because I'm smart enough to know what's going to happen. And I do get that we have to carry the baby to term, right? But again, that's something that I knew was possible. You know, females know that that's what happens when you get pregnant. If a dad can completely sign his rights away, I think he should also be able to completely sign on to the task, right? And then take it from there. Because just because I'm the female's carrying the baby, it's equal. Like I think it's 50-50. And I am one of those that think that it's a woman's body, and if a female wants an abortion, I think that is completely their decision. So I'm very much on that board. Boat, whatever, I'm not really sure.
On board with that.
On board with that.
Boats and hoes.
Yes.
That's what got you in the problem.
But I think that if he is saying I want this, and there's a way to take full responsibility so that he doesn't back out, I think that he should. I think that it should happen.
But if I can play devil's advocate,
Yeah,
for a
please
second.
do.
I mean, in essence, you're saying you're okay with the guy dictating what to do. Like in essence, because it's one of those. Obviously, it's very dependent. Like I don't know. My assumption would be based on your answer. You're probably a spiritual or religious person. Just a guess, and that's something we can talk.
Wait, that I'm a religious person?
Correct, or faith, or you have some degree of that. If not, that's an assumption. But I mean, outside that, again, you're talking about like some guy potentially telling you, like, truly, like, I want this child. Like, I don't care what you think. I want you to have this child, but I will take care of him or her when they're born. So I guess maybe that's the way I took the question. Like, I mean, and that's why I said, like, it's at the end of the day, it's up to the female to decide. But it's not like whether to have an abortion or not, but it's like whether, like, their morals, their, just religion, faith, whatever that is, or just whatever their moral compass is, whether they want to bring a child into the world. So
I was just thinking
that was the angle that I took it from.
I was just thinking, like, basically perfect scenario as far as the facts and the question guidelines are concerned, as far as, like, look, like, we both made a decision to do this thing, like Gary talked about, and now we should both get a say in how to end this thing.
But you're
Or
saying, so the female
how
says no, the guy says yes, so now that's 50-50, but then you're giving more credence to the men versus the female.
Yeah, but who said no and who said yes to begin with?
Can you read the question again?
If a woman gets pregnant and doesn't want the child, but the man does, barring all extenuating circumstances, should the woman have the child if the man takes on full and total responsibility thereafter?
I don't think the question is worded as in they're coming at each other like, no, I don't want it, and he's like, yes, I do.
That's pretty much what it is. Like
That's how I do.
Yeah,
That's how you
they
get-
had consensual sex, because again, there's whole other part of this conversation. So they had consensual, unprotected sex. She's pregnant. He wants it. She does not.
Yeah, well, that's that, in my mind. It's even deeper. Is you have two people that did the act of creating a baby, and then when afterwards, okay, you've created a baby. How is it okay for one person to say, no, this isn't going to happen, regardless of what you think, and it's not okay for the other person to say, no, it should happen, regardless of what you think. I think it's.
Well, I mean, the flip side of that conversation, I'm sorry, could be, if the female wants it, the guy doesn't want it, then at what point do you, to your point, then you say they had consensual sex, she takes on the responsibility for financial raising. But then at that point, you get into a macro conversation of the state and the federal government, like
Right.
wanting
Well,
to
that's
protect
an
the child.
imperfect world. That's why imperfect world. Like
Yeah.
if he theoretically, in the same sense, he should be able to walk away,
Right.
and say, "All right,
Right. You want it? Fine.
We both agreed to start this.
Yes.
But we're not
You're going to
agreeing
finish
at this
the crossing line, so you take the burden that comes along with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And if that's the situation, which
obviously in my mind makes the guy a piece of shit. So I mean,
right? No, but that's a side topic.
Yes.
But at this point, that's where we're at essentially. So like, it should be reversed too. And kind of what Gary was saying is, well, if that person can do this, then the other person should be able to do the same thing.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, please, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, there's so many gray areas, right? Like, is she healthy enough to bring this child to full term? Like, that should go into the decision. You know, if it's now high risk, that's a different situation. So it sounds like it can be black or white, but it really is so gray. But that's a deep one. They could go a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
And in some countries, I'm sure that is an actual thing. Like,
where it doesn't matter
Correct.
what one party.
Correct.
Yeah, and hence
hence be grateful we live here.
The grateful, yeah.
Yes.
For now.
Yes. Politics, sex, religion.
Who you got?
You ready for another one?
Take a break? Yeah,
I
can use a bathroom break. We'll take a quick break. It was like the first vacation we ever taken away from her. And my sister was watching her. And she said she's just crying and crying and crying. She might have even been younger than 2, like 1.5. Crying. Nothing that she could do to like calm her. Flipping through the channels, UFC came on.
Yeah.
Instantly. And she sat there and just watched the UFC for it was like an hour and a half or something like that. And it was just done. It was like, okay.
Better babysitter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to get her into, we've had a local guy who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu owner of a gym. And he's a 3rd degree black belt or something like that. Yeah.
BJJ.
Yeah.
Something check.
Yeah, man check. And he's talked about doing a kids class. Talked about getting her in.
And then I can get her to commit to something like that. I'm doing it.
I'm trying to get Jacob into it pretty soon. I mean, I do think that I think most kids should take that, or somebody should have some sort of self-defense or some sort of mixed martial arts training, or whether it's the actual physical part or the mind frame of kind of, do no harm, don't do anything bad unless you actually have to type of thing. So
yeah. Well, that's what
like self-control.
Well, that's what I love about the jiu-jitsu aspect is it's all about
like the respect.
Well, yeah, it's what's the word for it? I'm totally having a brain fart here.
Dude.
Like declining the
cognitive function.
De-escalation. Thank you. Yes, it's all about de-escalation.
Yeah.
I knew what he wanted to say. I just wanted to watch him.
The big
You're
D.
such an asshole. Yeah, it's all about de-escalation.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
it's not we're it's great to know how to punch and kick somebody in the face.
Right.
But when Mancheck was on, we talked about that where it's all about de-escalation. I can consistently de-escalate an aggressive person because when you look at jiu-jitsu, that's what it's all about. Is basically the most aggressive thing you can do is render them unconscious or render them in enough pain slowly that they can go, okay, I'm cool, I'm done.
Right.
So it's not like you instantly just break their face. It's okay, I'm going to control your body. You need to calm down. Okay. And then I'm going to control you more. You need to calm down. Then, okay, I'm just going to make you go unconscious.
Right.
So, but you can wake up and all your body parts are, for the most part, in one piece.
Right.
That's.
You're alive at least.
Yeah. And you don't have probably not broken bones. Maybe you do.
Right.
But
you're alive.
Yeah. I'd rather have a torn elbow or something than, brain bleeding.
Right. Or bleed out and die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the interesting aspect for me for that.
All right, more questions.
Yeah, we got more questions? Yeah.
If you could have a conversation with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I never think about that stuff.
No?
You host a podcast.
I know.
You should think about this.
Yeah, but I don't host I don't host a podcast that actually could get anybody. No offense to you guys.
All due respect
all
to
due
you
respect.
nobodies, but yeah.
No, not
These
nobody's.
scrubs. We're
But
just
not
bodies here.
anybody that I wanted.
level.
Not anybody wanted. But I know I will say,
Got to know the right people.
Yeah, well, I will say on that point before we answer that question, I have increased. Like, this has been. I know we say it quite often, but this has been more than what I could ever imagine it being, and it's sitting down across from these people. It's like I kind of relate to like my kid. Talk about our kids a lot. She's like, "What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? Like, what's your favorite food? Like, what's your favorite color?
Okay. Movie?
I don't have like." And we mentioned it recently that like I like to not live in my life in absolutes. But if someone asked me like, "What's your favorite like podcast guest that you've had on?" Like, I couldn't, because every single person that we've had on is just like, in some way, shape, or form, just giving this little like sliver of life. So. Not to get all woo-woo. Yeah, not to get all woo-woo on you guys, but I really appreciate both of you being here, because you're some of my favorite guests that we've had on. So, even though they're all my favorites.
Correct. That's pretty much what he's saying. Yeah,
it's so awesome. But
how do you spell PC?
Yeah. You got an answer for that one?
Yeah, I was super. My aunt raised me. I was super close with her. And so one of the things I often think about is like she was 64, but I didn't have a kid at the time, and I had graduated college yet, but I wasn't like off enrolling and different things like that. I hadn't, she supported my bodybuilding career and all that thing, so she didn't see me develop to where I am today, as far as that goes. So those are just things like you kind of wish she was here, and a lot of times, like even when I remember when I won a show that I had been trying to win forever. It took me like 4 tries to win it. Like the first thing I thought when I came off stage was like, and Peg, I know she saw this, like that kind of thing. So that was an easy answer for me. Super easy. I don't get I think we talked about this last time, but I don't get caught up in celebrities or anything like that. So there's it's not like,
I don't know, John Jones, bro.
Except for fighters.
Yeah, we talked about him before. Yeah,
but there's no, there's nobody like
Ken Shamrock
dead that I would, it's not like Muhammad Ali. I'd love to sit down and talk with him and hear his, like, it'd be cool if it happened, but like that wouldn't be on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So I do think about this sometimes. Let me make sure of this. So I mean, to me, I think probably there's 2, and I'll pick my favorite, but Alexander the Great, just in terms of what he did way back in the day and how far he went and how far, like, or how much further he could have gone, but then just kind of got stymied around India and stuff like that. But just the fact that, I mean, he just controlled, like half the globe. Or Jesus. And I'm not a religious person, so it'd be more of like, I need to know like what exactly happened. Like, was that water turned into wine? Like, did he really feed 5,000 people with like 3 fish and 5 like loaves of bread and stuff like that? So those would be I think for different reasons. One would be for like the spiritual. The other one would be just like, how the F do you do this and take over half the world? But
probably my grandma. So going back to what Gary was saying, like she never got to meet my kids, and I see a lot of my kids, a lot of her and my kids, and she would have appreciated them, like just the humor they have and the funny things they say, and I just I don't know, I knew her and I knew her well, but it's almost one of those things where it's like you never really know someone well enough, and there's times that it's like, man, I don't even remember what her voice sounds like, I don't even remember what she looks like. So it'd be cool to have another conversation with her and catch up.
I don't have a good answer. I don't. I'm not a huge family guy. I haven't known a lot of my family, and I don't really care to. I don't know. There's just I haven't really thought about this. And I was trying to, as you guys were talking, I couldn't come up with anything.
I'll give you some time to think about this. But I think going back to, like, I guess what you guys are talking about, like, family and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, like, some family that I have, we're super close, but I mean, I'm not close with my parents at this point, which we didn't really talk about that much before, but things definitely devolved, if you will, in terms of just how my life progressed. Like, I'm not close to my brother. My grandmother on both sides, so they're both buried here. So both my grandfathers are buried over in the old country, but like both my grandmothers are buried here. And actually, they're buried pretty close to each other. My dad's mom, didn't know her that well. My mom's mom, so my grandmother and my mom's side, like, we were pretty close. And then she came here with us, if you want. She lived with us. I guess where I'm going with this is just in terms of, like, just... So it's funny. So there's a Disney movie, and I think it's called, like... It's... I don't know. It's about a little kid that, like... The Dia dos Muertes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think Loco... trying to think what the name of the movie is.
Coco?
Coco Loco. Yeah, Coco Loco, I think.
No, it's just Coco.
Just Coco? Just Coco. Okay. I'm sorry. Well, I think he sings a song called Coco Loco. But anyways, just watching this thing, and he kind of like hit me in terms of like just kind of like just the whole spirituality of like the family and things like that. So actually, the next day, I took both my kids and we went to both my grandmother's grave sites, if you will, and kind of had a conversation with them. They're in my head, and I asked them to kind of just introduce themselves to them. So I mean, family is important. It's, it does suck that at times, I think, especially like myself, I'm not close with some of my family, and which really does suck because, again, you're talking about a small percentage of the population that's out there that has your blood versus the other 8 billion people out there. But so I guess I'm just saying it. Yeah, I get the whole part of like talking to your family or wanting them to see like that next generation, because I'd love to know. Well, sometimes I'm jealous of it, which I don't like jealousy, nor do I feel like I'm a jealous person, but like just maybe somebody that has been here for like 100 some years and you can truly trace back like your lineage. Like, I mean, for me, I know my grandparents, I don't know that much beyond that in terms of like the whole family tree or like what happened in terms of like who was my family on either side and what they did, who were they, things like that. So that's all I got. So. I'm sorry, Sam.
No, I still didn't think of a great one, but I will say I've always, and I just thought of this, and I just realized this. I've always kind of been not fascinated, but they've kind of always stuck in my head, the Wright Brothers.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, maybe like I did a report on them in school or something like that. One of those silly things, but I've just like recently learned like things about them where there was an article, I want to say it was literally like maybe like 6 to 8 months before like they took their first like official flight that it worked. And it was like articles in the paper, like, and everybody, it was all the professionals. So like human flight is impossible. Okay. It will never work. Like the physics behind it just aren't there. Like it's just not going to work.
These guys are clowns.
Yeah, they like these people, like the clown. There's no way that this will ever work. Like, just period. And everyone was like, "Oh well, the professionals." And then literally, like, I can't remember if it was like months or days or whatever it was, but it was very, very close after that. Here, the Wright brothers are out there just flying along, and it's like, just there are a couple brothers like to have that just weird dream and just to push and just go and do something. Just regardless of what anybody said.
The outside noise.
Yeah, and they just...
But I mean, I think to those point, I mean, whether it's an inventor, whether it's somebody starting a company, it is that it's impossible. And you're like, F you, like, let me show you. So, I mean, but, yeah.
I think that's... Someone like that, we're just completely against all odds. It's like, they're like, oh, no, all the professionals, everyone says you're crazy, it's not going to work. No way. And they go, oh, well, I'm going to do it anyways.
Right.
It's kind of like I kind of see like Elon Musk as like the modern day.
And that's kind of where I was going with something like the Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, something like that.
Yeah.
Like
I don't have anything against Jeff Bezos, but man, I seem like, like.
I mean, anybody that owns such a huge company, employs that many people. I mean, there was many things that were said along the way that he could have stopped at any point. So, but he just kept pushing through.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I'm not discounting what he did, but even watching that, have you ever watched that video? It's like an old video where like he's like standing on some like sidewalk, and it looks like they're just like, and I think he maybe had like a little bit of hair at that point.
Yeah,
and it was right when he started Amazon Books, and everyone's like, who need an online store for books? Like, what stupid idea is that? And he's talking about it, but even like looking at the video, it's like, oh, man, just such a twerp. But I mean, obviously, he created one of the biggest companies ever by telling he's a twerp. But
whatever you're saying, I completely disagree with. Jeff Bezos is one of the greatest people out there. Everything's fine. Yeah. So is Bill Gates. And, so go USA. Yes.
Don't put a chip in me, Bill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next question.
Yes.
We have the same. I think the only other name I've ever said on this podcast that makes me more uncomfortable is Hillary.
We do not talk about Hillary.
Next question.
What is something about you today that the old you would find surprising? Fred, you're not allowed to say this podcast.
Oh, God damn it. That's the easiest one, is this right here.
Exactly.
Absolutely. This is the biggest thing about me.
You know, something else. Because you've said that too many times on the podcast.
Oh. Fine. I don't know. This is the biggest thing. That I'm borderline. Is agnostic the word I want to use? Is agnostic?
Google that. Yeah. What does it mean? What's the translation of it?
There's one of the two words that I'm thinking of.
Either atheist or agnostic.
Yeah, I want to say it's probably. I lean towards more.
Well, agnostic would be accepting that there is a God, but like no necessary like connotation. Like an atheist would be like there is no God. So
agnostic is the idea that the question of the existence of God is meaningless because the word God has no coherent or ambiguous definition.
Yeah, that's probably I'm more that because at the same time, like I don't know, is God the simulation? I don't know. I think that'd probably be that I'm closer to being agnostic than anything because I used to be extremely religious.
So I think that's interesting. Like you say, you're agnostic, but I think like to me and like the point I was trying to make to you when I was going back to like having the kid or the child, like obviously there's a certain Judeo-Christian like moral compass that comes along with certain like set of beliefs. So
yeah, I'm sure a little bit feeds into that, like the past, but I think additionally there is history in my life that fuels that as well.
Yep.
That just happens to align with those kind of values as well. Because I didn't have a great childhood, so it's one of those things where it's like I want to do what I can to not have it repeat in my child, kind of deal. So,
I understand.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
Old you versus new you, Tony.
Yeah.
So
what would the old you be surprised about the new you?
Probably that I'm still alive. Seriously, my mom literally like for it. You know, until I turned 21, she was like, "There's no way you're making it to 21." Because I used to race motorcycles, so
I did the best I could, but
die.
This one.
Yeah. No. Yeah. If I either be alive or, probably. It's weird. I know this sounds odd just because I'm pretty laid back, but I used to have like a little bit of anger. Definitely had some anger back in the day, and it's gone, man. It's like almost difficult to get angry at this point. Probably just because I laugh at a lot of things. So,
I mean, not to divert, but where was that transition?
Oh, probably.
What happened?
I mean, I do have a plate and 6 screws in this hand for being angry. But
but I don't think a plate and 6 screws is going to stop you.
No,
an
oak dresser did, that's for sure. I don't know, man. I think it was just a maturity thing. It was life's going to be pretty damn miserable if I'm getting so angry about all these things, and then it's going to get expensive if I keep breaking shit. So.
Like your bones, yeah. Dressers, not so much.
So it was the financial factor. I can see that. It's like, this is too expensive. I could be spending this on something else.
Crypto.
It's all about the crypto. I think for me, it would actually just be more like just the stability that I have now. Because I don't know if I ever truly, fully imagined like the whole house, picket fence, wife, kids, things like that. So. Obviously, once you have kids, kind of your perspective changes. But like my life's pretty. I'm not going to call it boring, but it's balanced, if you will. But
sounds boring to some people.
Right,
balanced, stable,
right, balanced, stable. Yeah.
For me, keep it simple, but it'd be that I don't enjoy working out at all anymore. If I do it because I enjoy competing, but I don't enjoy anything that leads into competing. I don't enjoy dieting. I don't enjoy working out. I don't enjoy being in the gym religiously. It just feels like a job. So, especially as you get older and you get more busy and more responsibilities, it's like one more thing on your plate. It still has its place. I just went to Dallas a few weeks ago and
I saw that. How
was in this.
Not to,
This gym was absolutely. It like relit a fire under me because everybody in there was way bigger than me. Everybody in there trains hard. It was a bodybuilders gym, so everybody and lots of people in there compete. So it was just like, wow, this is that atmosphere. So I think there's still definitely a part of me that loves it deep down inside, but right now it's like real routine. I don't know if I need a new partner or if I need a partner, period, or change up how I'm training, or when you've been training for so long, it's like, how many times can I change? Lifting is lifting. I don't care how you do it. Right. So, but old me, I was super competitive. Just not only competitive with other people, competitive with myself. And now I go in and get the job done. How can I get from point A to point B as quick as I can and get out of this gym? So I look forward to rest days. Those things when I was younger. Who needs a day off? Like, I'm training every day.
Right.
So that's probably be the biggest change for me.
Yeah, I did that just recently too. It was because I'd gotten a little fluffy over COVID, and so usually that's my like marker when like I go to take a shower and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I better do something about this because it's about to be out of control. But even then I go in the gym and it was just like, I'm not excited, like, because I don't have anything I'm aiming for. Like, I don't push it as hard as I used to because it's like I realize like, all right, I'm getting older. Like, not that I'm old, but
things start hurting.
Yeah, things start hurting. And if you hurt something, like I know how it was in my 20s when I hurt something, like, give me a couple weeks and I'll just do leg day for 3 days a week and my arm would be good.
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, I can't hurt myself. And then it was funny at the gym I go to now. It was they finally like they had this like sketch or sus, right? Is that the word we're supposed to use now? This sus ass board up there where it was like, oh, the PRs, and it was just nothing. So I took a picture of it and I sent the gym owner. I said, when are you gonna start throwing some numbers up here, man? Like I need some motivation. And then so people started throwing numbers up there, and like I see numbers that like used to be for me absolutely nothing, but I know now are way more than what I can do. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, not only am I fluffy, but I'm also weak. Like, I got to start doing something. And it was like, oh, it clicked in me. I was like, okay. Now there's like this little bit of motivation that came back. And then, because I'm getting old, stuff starts hurting. I finally went to the doctor the other day to get stuff checked out that like I've had issues with for years, but I always just push through. But now it's like, oh, this hurts more than it used to.
Right.
Like, I need to fix this before I'm like 50 and I can't like raise my arm above, my nipples because I screwed it up. But you have to find, it's weird when even it's something you love, you have to find those weird like motivations to keep pushing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
I need to do something with that door. It's so squeaky.
They've been asked to get those back.
Oh.
Snacks.
Eat them up. All right. Got another one?
Question?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
What is the strangest thing someone has ever said to you?
Ooh.
That leaves a lot of room.
That's a lot of room.
Let's start with Tony this time.
Yeah, he's over there thinking real hard. I can only imagine some of the shit that people have told Tony. Can we get like a top 5
While
from
they're
Tony?
doing this, what does this look like to you? Yeah, it's like Dave Letterman's top 10 countdown.
Yeah.
I can't even think anything real great. I mean, I know you're thinking patience and stuff, and
I feel like most of the conversations you have with people are strange things.
Dude, like, how do I pick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to come back to that. I honestly don't have a great. I don't have a great one.
I don't have a great one either. So there's nothing that pops out. I don't know if you guys do or not, but
I don't know if this is necessarily the strangest thing, as someone said to me, but I did have somebody say to me once. I was walking into a gas station. Well, kind of going back to the whole lifting thing. I was probably like 245 at the time, and I'm not super tall, so I was pretty big. I was walking across this like I can't remember if it was like a drive-through thing or walking in like just road. And some dude stops, rolls his window down. He goes, "God damn it, man!" He's like, "I wouldn't want to hit you with my truck. You've done it all the fuck up." And I'm like, "Thanks." Yeah. I think that you wouldn't want to purposely run me over. Like, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like, I don't know. Like, I think maybe it was something about the town. Because I walked in the gas station, I think another dude, like, who's kind of a Jesus-looking fellow, he walks up to me. He's like, "Man, you real big." Like,
you real big.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, there's no follow-up or anything. It was just like,
now what? Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, I guess. Like, people say some weird stuff sometimes. Maybe I can think of a better one, though. But.
Okay, I got mine. So I was doing my gynecological rotation.
Oh, jeez.
And they made me do all the annuals, which was kind of ridiculous because this was the same place that your mom goes to. And I almost had to see your mom, but then they found out I knew her.
I know.
And they were like, "No, we're not going to have you see."
That would have been awkward.
No, I mean, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Like,
I don't know if that's true, Tony.
You have. They do look different. And when someone says, "Oh, I'd love to be a gynecologist," like, no, come do it for half a day.
Do people really say that?
Yeah, guys are all
like 15-year-old guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Stupid people.
Yeah, no, because you're dealing with everything but.
You don't get to,
I feel like it could really ruin
who
it.
you work with.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it could really.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible.
It'd be everything but the actual what you imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, and even if there are some like decent looking ones,
Right.
You get into
tainted.
you get into some STDs and stuff, and then you're like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, they're not there because everything's going great.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I would do the annuals. I would do
not to be confused with
the PAPs and then the bimanual. So after you go through, you have to actually like insert like 2 fingers in, and then you're palpating to feel the size of the ovaries, the uterus, the different organs to make sure everything is the size it should be.
Yeah.
And there was a lady, and she was like, they always ask permission. Hey, we have a student here. Yada yada yada. Is it okay if he does his annual? And she was like, let me see him first. I'm like, okay. So
That's
she
awesome.
sees me, and I'm like, nice to meet you. I'm Tony. And she's like, no. Let me see your hands. And I'm like, okay. And she's
fair
like,
enough. Yeah.
she's like, yeah, you have some big hands. She's like, but they're not fat fingers. She's like, you're good to go. And I was like, all right. So I do have one more if you want to.
Yeah, of course we do.
You got to think you're local. Like, you're going to see a lot of people. So I was with my dad, and we were at Leroy's. He was in town from Florida. We were grabbing some beers, and we're sitting at the bar.
Leroy.
And I'm looking at the bartender, and the bartender's looking at me. Huh? And I'm like, God, she looks very familiar. And she has that familiar face too. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I feel like I know this chick, but I don't know her. And dude, all of a sudden it was like, it hit me, it hit her. And she was like, she literally just said, she's like, you've seen my vagina before. And I was like, you're going to have to clarify. In a clinical capacity.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, you did my annual. And we started laughing. And my dad was like, what the hell is going on, son?
That's my kid,
but there was a bar back there too that was very young, and she was like, wait, he's a vagina doctor? She was like, he could be my vagina doctor anytime. It's like, Jesus.
Nice. All right.
That could be.
It was worth it.
Yeah, that could be really awkward, I guess, being a doctor and doing things like that. And then you just run into like your random patients, and it's like, oh, like,
right.
Or I mean, if you're at church, like, just shake it up.
Yeah, like you should not be in church.
Yeah.
Wife Nancy, seen her snatch before.
That get real weird.
Yeah. Do you remember when we were at dinner? I was 18, so I hadn't been dating very long, and I
if I
got
know
really
this story.
embarrassed. And you were like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "The guy right next to me is my gynecologist."
Oh yeah.
And you were like, "Ew, why would you tell me that?" He was old, right? Like he was about to retire. And I was embarrassed. You were very uncomfortable. And then he saw me, walked by, and goes, "Hi, how are you?" Because my mom works there.
He's like this.
Right. It's like, hi.
Like, I don't think he would have recognized me had my mom not worked at the women's health. I walked
Great
into
dinner.
that one.
Yeah, blooming onion and everything.
Ooh.
Walked right into that one. Anyways, Glenn, strangest thing someone's ever said to you.
So not really, but I mean, maybe along those lines. So I'll probably say at least 10% of the time when I go to the gas station, like I'm filling up, like there's going to be a lady behind me who tells me that I have a sexy voice.
Oh, well.
You
can't blame
It's
her.
happened to me dozens of times.
Glenn says, drop your drawers and touch your toes. I'm going to show you where the wild goose goes.
Pretty much. That should be like my tagline at this point. So. But many times that's happened. And I'm like, all right, thank you. And that's it. That's all I got. I wish I had more for you.
I have two. I didn't go into too much detail on the one. Just leave it at that.
I feel like you should because that's smile.
All right, forget the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was out with my buddy one night. This probably isn't the strangest thing that's happened, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. It's stuck in my head all these years. And I'm wingmanning for him. So there's this other girl. I spend the whole night talking to
A lot
her.
of weird stuff that could happen.
Yeah, right. Spend the whole night talking to her, and they decide that they're coming back with us to the house. So we're heading back. She appears to be interested in me, and we're in the back seat, and she looks over at me, and she says, "You can tell me the truth. You're gay, aren't you?" I said, "What?" She said, "You're gay, aren't you?" I said, "No, I'm not gay. Where did you get that from?" She goes, "You just seem like you might be gay." I said, "Okay. We'll find out." And we'll leave the story there. So that was one. And then this was probably the strangest thing that's happened to me downtown Cleveland, and it happened to me 2 weekends in a row. So there was a pitcher that played for the Indians.
Too far away from that thing.
There was a pitcher that played for the Indians probably, I don't know, within the last 10 years or so, maybe 7-8 years ago. His name was Tony Sipp. And everybody used to always tell me I look like Tony. And I mean, maybe I see it from some of the facial expressions, but not really. I don't think I look anything like him. And at the time I had a friend named Brittany who worked at Barley House Cleveland. And so Tony, I had came in earlier, the Indians were playing, and she goes, "Oh my God, you know who you look like?" And I was like, "I mean, yes, Tony Sipp." She goes, "How'd you know I was going to say that?" I was like, "Everyone tells me that." So they're on TV, whatever. I leave, go to a different bar. At the end of the night, I walk past Barley, and she's outside. She goes, "Gary, oh my God, you got to come in real quick. I have somebody I want you to meet." She takes me to the back, and at this table, in their back little VIP area, I walk up, and she goes, he's there, and she goes to introduce us. He goes, "You must be the guy everybody keeps saying I look like." And I said, "You must be Tony Sipp." And he starts laughing. He goes, "Yeah, that's me." And he said, "I figured you must be a good-looking guy if you look just like me."
What?
And so I don't see it. So
I don't see it at all.
yeah. So we start laughing or whatever. Cool. So I meet Tony Sipp. Look. So
It just sounds racist to me. I'm just saying.
whatever. Like I said, I don't see it myself.
Your ears don't stick out nearly as far as his does.
He's got some big ears.
Well, they're
Like,
not necessarily
just like-
big. They like fold out.
Correct.
Maybe if you had facial hair.
Correct.
Maybe I could see it then.
Can you do like write in some facial hair and see if that
Yeah, I don't.
is there a program for that?
I'll bet
Yeah, I'll
you
agree with you.
I bet you the time I didn't have facial hair though too. So I don't know. Either way, so Tony Sipp was the
Yeah, maybe that's what I don't know. Maybe if I watched that documentary on CJ. And I'm just watching it, or it was not just about CJ, but
Yeah.
the Alive. And I was watching it, and all of a sudden, boom! boom, there's Gary Chaney. I'm like, I know that guy.
I was like, yes, I got 12 seconds in the movie.
Yeah.
Mind you, they shot so much footage of me. I was like, really? You got me while I'm sitting on the steps?
because
What is this?
That's all you got? My one client was they had a documentary on disabled veterans that are
Gotcha.
athletics still, basically.
So the other gentleman that was on the podcast with you? Or?
Yeah. So going back to Tony, so
yeah, sorry.
I was out a couple weekends later, and I'm out with my buddies, and now at this point, all my friends know that I keep getting mistaken for Tony Sip, but nothing's happened because of
Have
it.
they started messing with you at this point?
No, they're
You
not.
start wearing like Indian gear, everything?
No, I didn't do it.
I would have been like, I'm like, hey, it's Tony Sip.
So I'm outside. I happen to be
with you and like, yeah. Right.
Side of
I happen to be outside Barley again, and this girl comes up and she goes, "What's up, Tony?" And I was like, I looked at my friend Dave. I was like, "Watch this." He goes, "Oh my God." I was like, "Hey, how are you?" She goes, "Good. It's so good to see you again." I was like, "It's good to see you again." She's like, "Man, I had so much fun at your house." I was like, "Oh yeah, it was a good time. I appreciate you coming through." She goes, "We all had so much fun." She goes, "Do you have any more of that stuff?" I don't. I don't have any more of that stuff, but I'm staying the night. Good looking girl. I'm staying the night over at my buddy's house right down the alleyway. So if you guys want to come out and hang out afterwards, she goes, "Well, I have to catch up with my girl." It didn't end up happening. I have to catch up with my girls, blah, 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 blah. So the very next weekend, I cannot make this up, the exact same thing happens. Another girl, Tony, blah, 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 same thing. She goes, something along the lines of, do you have any more of that stuff? Or that stuff you had was so good. Yeah. I was like, I don't have any more of that stuff. Yeah. I was like, I can't keep rolling as this guy because this is going to backfire me. So apparently
he's got some good stuff.
Yeah, he's doing a little more than just baseball.
I feel like a really
I don't know what
recipe.
I don't know what that entails, but
it's got a good motion.
People were having, people were.
Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Let's just say USADA is not testing the baseball players. Not all of them, at least.
Well, they cleaned all that up years ago with all those other guys.
They figured out. Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. They're like, I cannot believe 2 weeks in a row you got mistaken for him. I was like, I can't either, because I don't even think I look like
somebody I've never heard of before.
Right, he was like a relief pitcher.
I mean, that's what it was. They just saw such a quick clip.
He's like 6'2". He's a pitcher.
That's true. Most pitchers aren't.
They're not short.
I'm like this. I can't fake height.
Yeah, aren't jacked.
Right.
Lanky. Right? Oh, well, got to have the fun while you have it.
So
that was a good one.
I was gonna say I have some more actually. I thought about some stuff.
Oh yeah, please do that. This is I like strange
because
things.
I have a follow up regarding your sexy voice.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah,
for later.
Tell me more. Yeah.
It involves a script.
A script.
It does.
I charge
Actually,
for that.
it involves all of you.
Nice.
I'm out. I'm not taking that million.
Tony, you were down for the business idea.
I'm out.
Finger up the button in circles. Yeah.
No take backs. You were in.
I'll take his 250K.
Always take backs.
Take backs. No, I mean it's at some point in my life, like people thought I looked like Steven Seagal. And I got that a lot.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I got that many times. And then for a short period of time, I think between being larger, skinny, whatever, like Ricky Martin, I got that for like a good year. Oh. I mean, I think I had my actually hair like bleach blonde and stuff like that. That was like the late 90s.
I feel like Ricky Martin's probably a lot smaller than you are, though.
Probably a lot gayer too.
I mean,
right, but
depends on if $1 million.
He's a handsome lad, though. Correct.
Yeah, he is.
But people also think Gary's gay. So
right.
That is true.
I knew that's where this.
Yeah, apparently, allegedly.
Two swords.
Yeah, I've been hit on by a lot of gay guys before.
you have.
I'm
flattered.
really something else. I'm really good at that too. Like if you ask Boris, my cousin Boris, they knew where we go because I mean the families have known each other for a long time. I'm typically pretty good to have somebody approach me for a conversation or something else. So it just happens. So.
I mean, it's very flattering. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's great. I mean, we can be friends. It's fine.
Yeah. I had this job at one point. It was an older lady, but I had this job at one point where I talked to people at their houses, and I had to walk into this lady's house at one point because she had to sign some paperwork, whatever. And at one point, she was, I mean, I would say had to be like mid 50s, but looked like she was like mid 70s. Definitely a smoker her whole life. Like, just, the tip. She's like, oh. She gets, she's like, are you married? And I'm like, yeah. Unfortunately, I am. And she was like, oh, that's too bad. And then literally she goes, because it's been a long time. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I gotta get going. She's like, are you sure?
Yeah, my wife's expecting me. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. But
there's something harder than a hard pass. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, I was like, and like, because it was like, I remember at one point it was. Wife, we always used to like. She's like, I bet you, because I used to talk to a lot of people. She's like, I bet you get hit on all the time. I'm like, I mean, not that it hasn't happened, but not the way you're thinking.
Yeah, there's no UPS driver involved.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. Bathrobe coming in.
Yeah. We've seen some of those too. It's like, no thanks. Hard pass. Yeah. I don't know where that was going, but
random.
I like random.
Yes.
Any more questions, or are we shutting her down?
Where we're at? We're like, what, 2 hours, something like that? You got a final good one? Final good one for us? We can wrap it up.
You trying to say the other ones were not good?
Those were good. I was just making sure it wasn't a crappy last one.
What's your favorite color? All right.
Yeah, son of a bitch. Yeah. None of them. I hate color.
Color white.
Yeah. That's gross. Like, give me something.
Best advice you've received and best advice you'd give if it would be different.
Explain that. The last part.
So, the best advice that you've received personally, but then what's the best advice you would give in general if it's different than the best advice you've ever received?
That makes sense.
You actually make me think.
I'm going to answer, but not. So I'm just going to go. I'm going to pick my own funnel here. So I think the best advice I'm trying to give to my kids at this point, based on my life experience, because again, we're immigrants. You're like, you go to school, you go to college, you do whatever. I'm like, forget college. Like, unless you absolutely need to go to college, then go to college. So, I mean, my hope is that once my kids are old enough, if I can afford to, or if I can help them, I want them to travel for like a year. Go out there, make bad decisions, like go figure yourself out. Just obviously don't do anything super fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Just go out there, just live your life. Like, because I mean, what 18, 17-year-old, I mean, I'm sure that there's a small percentage, but truly most don't know what they want to do in life. So I think it's, for me, based on how I've been brought up, just it's kind of like almost the opposite. Like, just go out there, live your life. If I can help you with that, and then you come back and you decide if going to college is the right thing for you, or being an electrician, plumber, trade, whatever that is, and then just kind of figure out your life afterwards. So kind of not, but still, that's the advice that I'm like trying to give to myself, to give to my kids once they get to a certain age. That's been my kind of like epiphany. Eureka moment in the last probably 4 to 5 years.
It's good.
This isn't advice. This was something I got in trouble for many times. It was the first thing that popped in my head, so I'll go with it. My aunt used to always say, what happens in this house stays in this house. So if something happened, like if we got a whooping or something and we went and told the school teacher or something crazy, like, you're getting another whooping when you got home for repeating. Like, so you never repeat it. I remember one situation in particular. My cousin had got in trouble, and my other aunt had came over, and they're like double teaming her, yelling at her, and it turned into basically beating my cousin's ass. And there was blood on the carpet. Like, it wasn't like an all out, they jumped or anything, but somebody got hit. And there was blood on the carpet, and I saw it. So when the cousins that were my age came over, I was like, Anthony, Alicia, like, come here, I gotta show you something. You see the blood on the carpet? That happened when this was going down. I was downstairs, but I didn't see it. And I was
You're
next.
like, mind your business.
I was next. Why would you go repeat that to them?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know what happened. You weren't even up here, whatever. So, I think in terms of, you know, whether that's, I'm just big on like what, you know, people always tell me, you never post anything on Instagram or whatever, unless it's your daughter, unless it's, because I don't need to create this illusion that my life is this way, or like I posted her playing soccer today. That's real life. That's what's happening right now. But I don't need to post that I got this perfect life or this extravagant vehicle or house or anything like that.
It's like those that need to know.
Yeah,
And
like
if not, they don't need
yeah,
to know. So
exactly. So it's what happens in my life stays in my life. Even relationships I've been in, you never post any pictures of us. That's my number one. This is my social networking. If you don't like it, then don't follow me. Number two, I don't need the world to know my every move, that we're out on a Saturday night, or it's not anybody's business. Social networking didn't even exist before 2004. So why all of a sudden is it ending relationships? Is it, you know, what dominates what we do, where we spend most of our hours at, you know, going through Facebook and Instagram and so on. I'm just not, trust me, I'm guilty. I enjoy Instagram and Facebook as much as the next person, but I don't need to put my life out there for everybody to see.
But it's there, and you leave it there instead of bringing it with you.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I don't post. I mean, I might post something every 4 or 5 months, something 6 months. Like, hey, my kid caught a fish or something like that, or like, hey, I'm gonna eat a nice steak, or I made this dinner or something like that. Outside of that, there's not. I don't know. People have their lives, and
it's cool to post, like, and this is just my opinion, but it's cool to post things about her and, you know, just the fun things you do. Like when we were out on the boat, like took a pic, like that's cool to post. And it's, you know, for what I do with bodybuilding and stuff, I almost have to post because people need to see the work I'm doing. Right. So I'm some more people. Yeah, exactly. But I also enjoy showing, you know, I put in a lot of time with these patients, so showing them off, and you know, that's my trophy essentially. So that's the one. I think that's something that stuck with me my whole life, whether you call it advice or a lesson learned. What happens in this house stays in this house. Advice I'd give goes back to what we talked about the last time when it was just me, and that was basically about being independent and making your own decisions, you know, regardless of circumstance. So there's a time and a place to provide and look out for other people, but sometimes it's okay to be selfish and put yourself and your goals and your aspirations at the forefront of things at the end of the day. So, and I went way into that, but for the sake of repeating that whole thing, that would be the advice. That'd be the advice I'd give her. Like, make your own decisions. Don't let other people influence you. You know the difference between right and wrong. So make decisions that are going to benefit you, whether it be short-term or long-term. You don't always have to do what everybody else is doing or what society says is the, I'm big on that. You do not have to do what society says is the norm. No. Marriage is the norm. If you have kids, you're supposed to get married. If you have a wedding, you're supposed to do the wedding this way and that way, and you're supposed to invite this person and that. I don't care what society, and you're supposed to wear what the girls are supposed to wear a dress and the guy's supposed to wear a suit. If I want to wear pajamas to my wedding, that's what I'll do, because it's my experience and it's my memory. Whoever, I could vent on this all day because that drives me nuts. Like, who came up with the idea that a wedding, like you get married in a wedding dress that you'll never ever wear again, quite possibly never ever fit in again, let alone I'm just saying that's across the board for men and women. But you pay all this money for a party that you really could throw in your backyard and everybody bring a covered dish and you party however you want to party.
It seems very commercialized.
Yeah, the last thing I ever want to do is get married and do what everybody else did. Like, it's not unique. It's a memory. because all your closest friends are there, but it's not. I don't know. It's just not unique.
See, I think along those lines, I love my wedding. Like when we got married, because like to me the biggest like part was like two things. The food has to be brought out to everybody within 5 minutes. And our wedding was like 125 people, so it wasn't huge, it wasn't small. It was like everybody because that's always been a pet peeve of mine. If I go to a wedding or a function, if that dude's like finishing his plate before I even got like my initial part of it, I'm pissed. Like this sucks. So
I'm just hungry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for me, rule number one is like everybody like pretty much within a matter of 5, maybe 10 minutes, but like everybody needs to have food in front of them. And then number two, plenty of liquor. Like we're just not running out. So we had those two things covered. But in terms of like what we did, so we had our ceremony, which was kind of like rushed through, and then we walked from table to table, like doing shots, like doing that part of it. So we had 12 tables, and then we're at our own table within 20, 25, 30 minutes, and then we just had a good time. So we got it kind of like all the formalities out of the way, and we're like, all right, let's fucking have a good time. So, but the best advice, actually, anybody listening out there that's getting married, so two good pieces of advice that I was given before I got married, and this is like 10 years ago at this point. Chapstick, because you're smiling so much, like taking photos, so like just your lips get chapped. So if you're out there getting married, have some chapstick.
He's like, what is this?
So random, but I mean, it's like I don't know, just things that pop to my mind.
He's like a commercial boy for Bliss Stacks.
That's right. No, which one's the good? The bees, Burt's Bees. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm available. Yeah. And then two is like when you do your shots, like have a beer bottle with you, like do your shot and kind of like chase it back, but actually like get most of the alcohol back into the beer bottle. So this way, by the time you're not like doing 12, 14 shots, you're not like all effed up by the time you get to your table, unless you want to be effed up because if you're getting married for the wrong reasons. But that was one of those we literally, and again, we're talking about like we're Russian, so there's like bottles of vodka everywhere. So like every table we go to, there's a shot. So like I said, it would have been like by the time we got back, it would have been like 12, 14 shots deep. So.
Yeah, that vodka will sneak up on you too.
Correct. So those are two good pieces of advice.
I think that going back to the whole marriage thing, like, and like the wedding thing, like the whole structurality of it, and it's funny because, myself, like we did the normal thing, and even more, honestly, even like way beyond normal. Like we don't need to get into that, but like I used to think about it's like the whole wedding thing, like why just it's your day, do whatever the hell you want, like why like it's even more of that just. It's when you're doing something for you and your person or whatever it is, like do you like do whatever they want. Like you don't have to have this like societal like normality of what the fuck's that
what
mean?
It's supposed to look like.
Yeah, like what's that mean? Like I always
it's Aunt Judy from whatever somewhere BFE and stuff like that. Like I don't want to see these people like my work colleagues. No offense. You don't necessarily need your work colleagues to your wedding, but.
Yeah, well, like even I tease the wife sometimes, where it's like what
the wife.
Yeah, the wife. Yeah, like what is like what's marriage? It's some kind of weird binding contract that we got in together with the government,
and that you have to pay to get out of.
Yeah, like what kind of horse shit is that? Like so, like I feel like I understand the idea behind. Marriage and the thought behind
but
it.
Back in the day, it was goats and cows were involved in land and like dowries.
Yeah, like to me that makes more sense. Yes. But now it's like, oh, now I'm
your
like
namesake. Like
I'm like I'm binding myself with the person that I love.
Yeah,
which
is going to fail 50% of the time.
Yeah, and like if something happens where like we don't work out, or even if we do, like there's like these weird like government like contracts
that
like
financially ruined.
Yeah, or you get like, hey, you get bonuses on your taxes and stuff. Like, what kind of weird government like sticking their hand in between? Like, what is that? What does this really mean? Like, what kind of weird shit we got going on?
Who even came up with that? Like,
yeah,
what point?
A government. Government came up with that.
I mean, a religious Judaic government. Like,
that's always like kind of a stick in my head. Yes. Like, what is this? I don't get this. I don't remember what the question was.
I mean, at this point, it's actually more expensive to be married than not. So,
yeah, I don't know anymore. It's just. Like,
it's
why do I need to involve
more
the
expensive to get out of it than it was to get into it.
That too, but yeah,
that's. But ridiculous. I don't know. It depends on who you are. Some people, I guess if you're spending that much money on a wedding, you're probably going to spend a lot more on the way out.
Yeah.
Was it Tony's turn for the advice?
Probably some of the best advice. Probably two things. So,
don't take $1 million for any sort of sodomy. Number one,
don't take money for anything.
So the one it was advice, but it was actually what I learned through that advice, and it was kind of the opposite of that to an extent. So my dad, and I've said this before, very respectful, but like hard nosed dude. Underwater demolition, law enforcement. And so he always said to me, he was like two things. He was like, don't trust anyone. And he was like, don't fuck up. And so I always was thinking of these things, and I'm like, holy smokes. And those are, maybe not what you tell to like a little kid, or at least qualify them. And so in my mind for years, I was like, I can't fuck up. I was like, don't trust anyone. Don't trust you. Don't trust you. And so I think, they either need qualified, or I found out that, it's okay to fuck up. It's just what you do with that and not staying in that moment. Right. You have to learn something from it. And it's what, makes you you, and hopefully you build some character out of that. And then you can trust people. It'd be a miserable life if you couldn't trust anyone. I'm sure there's a lot of dishonest people out there, but there's also some very trustworthy people. And it's part of building some awesome, lasting relationships, finding those people you can truly trust. So the other one was just my mom always told me, and my dad, that they said you can do anything. They're like, anything that you put your mind to, you'll be able to do it. And I was dumb enough that I believed that. But it actually kind of benefited me, because to this day, I truly believe that like if there's something that I want to do, I'll figure it out and I'll do it, no matter what that is. Or I'll die trying, I guess. So I think it's worked well for me so far.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still alive.
I am still alive.
It's positive for you.
So,
that's a positive
for you. Yeah.
As far as the advice I'd give, I definitely like the Confucius 2 Lives quote, the one that Naval quotes, or the other one by, I think his name's like Gil Bali or Gil Balil. It's don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. For what the world needs is more people who've come alive. And I know that you have to earn some money in whatever it is you do, but man, I think if you truly love something and you're passionate about it and you're that good at it, you're going to figure out a way to earn enough money at it, or enough people they're going to be on board that they're going to follow you.
Or at least you'll be happy and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So
you get the rat race.
I actually had the chance to talk to, I think it was like a 17-year-old kid. One of the drug reps brought him into our clinic, and she was like, any advice for him? And that was one of the things I gave him advice-wise. And the other advice was, learn to laugh at yourself and don't take life too seriously. If you can do those things, man, you can almost just, it doesn't matter what comes your way. It'll be all right.
That's good. It's real good. I guess it's my turn. I think mine's kind of tied in together in a sense of, it's not the same. It's kind of different. But it wasn't really advice given to me, but it was something that I read, and it's just it was semi-recently. It was within the last year, but it was Neil deGrasse Tyson's quote: "The universe is under no condition to make sense to you." And I read it, and I read it again, and I read it again. I just kind of like, it's always stuck with me. I'm like, oh. I'm just along for the ride. Literally, I'm just here. Like, the universe does not give a shit. It really doesn't.
Not one bit, yeah.
Not one iota. So it's like, when I was able to realize that, obviously it's not necessarily advice to me, but it allowed me to kind of pull some advice from it. It was like, kind of throw away the things that don't matter. Because guess what? The universe does the same thing. It doesn't matter. Like, all you got is what you have right now. And if you can move forward with realizing that, like, it was kind of weird, because I took like a complete like 180 from it as well. Is the universe doesn't matter, or the universe, you don't matter to the universe, but it allows you to do whatever you want and to be impactful and matter to the people around you. because you don't have to do this one thing for the universe. You don't have to be on this set road. You don't have to, focus solely on something or you can do what makes you happy and what makes the people around you happy, and you can be impactful even if it's in a small range, because ultimately, like, you don't have this set path that you're on because the universe doesn't care about you. So you can go wherever you want. Now, do you do something good with it?
Yeah.
Or do you throw it all away?
Or you're limited by your mind and your imagination.
Yeah. So, like in realizing that as far as the universe is concerned, I don't matter. That frees me up.
So it's interesting.
Maybe I can do something because I'm not constrained.
Right.
By being nothing.
It's not predetermined.
Yeah, it's not predetermined, and by being nothing means that I'm not constrained by something. So now I have the freedom to do whatever I want.
Yeah. I was going to say, so I mean, a good friend of mine, I was telling Tony about this. He had an ayahuasca journey. So he did that for a couple of days. So that was actually one of his realizations, is just the scope of the universe. So he was kind of like outside himself looking in, and just in terms of just what is going on out there. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're paving your own journey, and yeah, the universe doesn't care, but there's still maybe some forces that are maybe trying to get you into a certain direction, if you will, but you still have the choice to do whatever you're doing. But that was a huge revelation, like, to himself within, his experience, if you will, in terms of just the scope of the universe and what's out there and how tiny we are. But there's still, like, that gravity is being exerted upon us. Yeah. Based on his feedback. So.
Yeah, it was. I've heard a lot of things about that, and I don't know if I'd want to endure that because it sounds brutal. But I'm not opposed to traveling down that road.
Right.
I don't think a drug test for that.
He said it was life changing. So.
Yeah, but I can imagine. It's just weird that, like, you hear that story. It kind of. Obviously, I've never done that, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, like. It that's what it was. It struck me along the lines of when I realized how small I was, it made my brain realize how big I could be. Like, it's some kind of weird, I don't know what you call that, but
some sort of dichotomy.
Yeah, it was like, oh,
duality.
Like,
something.
Because I don't matter, I can matter, or because I'm so small in the universe, I can be big in this.
Well, what's that sign? Like, never, like, nothing matters, so never mind, or what's that? There's some sort of, I don't know if I saw that in The Simpsons at some point.
I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, there's something like that. It's some sort of, like, actual, like, playing words, like, based on physics or science. Yeah. We'll have to look it up afterwards, but
yeah. The universe.
The universe, yeah. I mean, it's been what, 8 billion some years old. Like, I mean,
who knows?
The odds of any of us existing and then also being in the room is, like, astronomical. So I mean, it's just how much. Like,
literally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many genomes, everything had to come together in order for us to just be born and. But then also come together, and, like, I mean, that's when you get to, like, the whole multi-universe theory, like, just, so many different options. Like, it's unlimited in terms of, like, anything could have happened on the way over here and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just it can be pretty mind-boggling.
If you allow it to.
Yeah,
I do.
At least open your mind to it. At least consider the options.
Yeah, that's my problem, because I think about it too much.
I mean, are you okay with yourself?
Yeah.
Then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Then forget what anybody else thinks. So.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
Ain't no thing.
Ain't no thing.
Yeah.
Any last words, Gary?
Nothing.
Nothing, he says.
Gary looks like he got smaller during the show.
Yeah. Oh, no. That was the last time he was on. He ate like 3 pounds of food. We need to feed Gary. Let's feed Gary. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. I'm fading.
Thank you for hanging out with us on this episode.
Appreciated as always, and if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or guest suggestions, leave them in the comments after you subscribe to the channel, or visit chroniccuriosity.com to get in contact with us.
And the store, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Until next time, that's it.